think Obama did something very savvy last night. He is trying to force the Republicans into a position where they either have to go with Main Street or with the plutocrats. And we've already seen from their responses that they are siding with the plutocrats. The idea that we shouldn't adjust the tax rates for people at the top and doing so is somehow class warfare is absurd. And of course, the Republicans are always talking about dynamic economic activity, and yet now they're proposing a constant state, at least as it applies to the rich. The proposals that he put forth last night are pro-child, pro-family, pro-work, pro-savings. Many of them are things put forth by the Republicans, including tax simplification. And yet the Republicans rejected this out of hand. So what Obama was really doing, Juan, was setting up the 2016 election. Now, this could be turned against him by the Republicans. My column in Al Jazeera America this morning is about how if the Republicans were savvy about this, they'd take the bill that will be introduced with these proposals by one of the Democrats, strip out the tax increases for those at the top, pass it, and then put the president in the position of having to veto a middle-class tax cut. But keep in mind, you're seeing Republicans opposed to lower taxes and tax relief for middle-class Americans. So in that sense, politically, he's been quite successful, I think, in the talk he gave last night.
And how would taxing the rich work, David Cay Johnston?
Well, he's proposing two key elements. One is to end what's called step up in basis. If you inherit stock that has never been taxed, it's received by you at its current value. You can sell it and pay no taxes. And this is the single most important element by which the very wealthy perpetuate their wealth from generation to generation, so that it's not merit and hard work, which the Republicans talk about all the time, that creates a lot of the wealth at the top. It's who did you pick to be your parents. The second thing the president is proposing is that for those people in the top 1/2 of 1%, and almost all the money would be paid by the top 1/10 of 1%, people who make over $2 million, that their capital gains tax rate be at the Ronald Reagan rate of 28%. And Republicans are saying that that's outrageous. Well, I'm sorry, they're always telling us Ronald Reagan is a saint. I think it's ideologically difficult to make the argument that we shouldn't have a 28% tax rate, particularly when surveys are showing two very important things about the disconnect between Republican congressional leaders and Republicans. More than half of Republicans in one poll and around 40% in others favor higher taxes on people with $1 million+ incomes. 53% of Republicans in one case said the tax rate should be 50% on your income above $1 million. And 3 out of 4 Republicans want to increase Social Security benefits. Well, congressional Republican leaders are focused on trying to dismantle those benefits.
On Tuesday, Senator Orrin Hatch, chair of the Finance Committee, said President Obama's plan to raise taxes on wealthy Americans in order to help the middle class amounted to class warfare. In remarks prepared for a speech to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, he wrote, quote, "This plan appears to be more about redistribution with added complexity and class warfare, directed at job-creating small businesses than about tax reform." David Cay Johnston, your response.
Well, I'm with Warren Buffett on this one. Warren Buffett, 15 years ago, when I was at the New York Times, told me, we are engaged in class warfare. My side is winning. We've been engaged in class warfare for a long time. The reason incomes at the top have gone up so much and others are stagnating is government rules that have been bought and paid for with campaign contributions, with companies providing jobs for politicians' friends and family and the politicians themselves when they leave office. So we need to recognize that there is class warfare going on. It's being waged by a segment of the very wealthy, not all of them, a segment of them, who are systematically draining the pockets of people down below to increase their fortunes. Nothing Obama said, and nothing I've ever said, is opposed to the idea of people acquiring wealth because they made a better product or a better service and they earned it in the marketplace. But what's going on in our country is government rules that I've written about in my trilogy on the American economy, and Free Lunch and The Fine Print and Perfectly Legal, that subtly reach into your pocket and take your money. I mean, we have 3,000 corporations now that keep the state income taxes they withhold from their workers' paychecks, and the workers have no idea that they're being taxed by their bosses. And there are thousands of policies like this. So we do have class warfare going on. It's being waged by a segment of the wealthy against the middle class and the poor.